What's up, guys? It's Mike Frank with Berkshire Hathaway, Frank Oliver and Company, coming to you again, doing our podcast here with Christian Olson.
Yo, what up?
What's up, Christian? So I'm so excited. We got the opportunity to get away, get back. Business is crushing. We're doing our thing.
Yeah.
We're going to talk a little bit about selling high in today's crazy market.
But before, I got an update for you. You know
What's
what we got going on? Our home buyer event.
Oh, yeah. Next home buyer event. Yeah,
August 18th, 6 to 9, Fells Point. Be there.
Love it. Love it. So we're going back to Fells Point. We had our home buyer events there pre-COVID, and now we're going back to Fells Point, which is exciting. We're going to be back at Bar Cocina. If you guys haven't tried it, tacos, margaritas, by the water. It's just the best. So getting back there is going to be a great opportunity for us, for our clients. Oh, it's beer o'clock. Sorry.
Oh, God, I got it all.
I got it.
I got it on me.
All right. So we've talked a little bit about buying low, selling high. We talked about, kind of how you guys can represent and protect yourselves in the process. And it doesn't come to surprise anybody that you should be hiring the right agent to represent you in the process. But
it's always important.
I think there's a lot of fear in today's market. There's a lot of things that people are unsure, and talking a little bit about how to sell high in today's market.
I think there's a lot of fear because people are just like talking to their cousin, their mom and dad.
Jesus. Yeah.
We're getting right into it.
I mean, I'm not in disagreement. I think the biggest problem is that so many people got licensed during COVID, right? And it's a great opportunity. And don't get me wrong, I love the industry, and I love that people are utilizing their opportunity to get into such a great business, a great opportunity to create something for themselves that they couldn't otherwise. Myself, you, everybody. But I think the problem is that people got into this industry and then it was easy. And they didn't spend any time learning or training or holding themselves accountable to provide a better source or resource for their clients. And that's really where I'm scared for the future.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyway, so we itemized, I don't even remember how many things this is, 7, 8?
About 1 million.
It's a lot.
This packet is.
Yeah, it's 9 pages of information. But we itemized a lot of information. We talked about different ways to protect our clients to sell high. And the first thing was cutting your budget, staging, cosmetic upgrades, creating opportunity to protect that future value. And the first one that we talked about was Joe Wilson, creating an opportunity to, instead of spending on a full kitchen renovation, which would have netted him nothing, right? Cutting the budget and spending that money more wisely.
Yeah. And in a project like that where you want to renovate your home, sell it for a higher value, it's not making the house look like a new construction home, right? Mm-hmm. You want to get it to reflect the market value, the community that's in, to the best of your ability. So we were going around painting all the walls. We did the entire flooring of the house. That was weird. Did the entire flooring of the home, and redid some of the deck. We painted the cabinets. Didn't really change the countertops. Painted part of that, and renovated a few other things. But we weren't making it a brand new home for people to move into.
Right. I mean, I think that's something that people think. I have to do the counters. I have to do the windows. Some of the things that we had talked about here was, just paint all the areas. Paint the whole house. You don't realize how dirty. I mean, I'm literally sitting here eating goldfish. How dirty my fingers are getting. Right? I mean, you just don't realize it. If you have kids, if you have dogs, your house is disgusting.
Yeah. Paint
the house. Paint it a neutral color, right? Grays, tans, beige. But you know what? Maybe you should consult somebody that's a professional. Who am I to say? You also could do little things. You talked about power washing. We power wash a lot. We power wash exteriors. We power wash decks, garages, interiors of garages. There's a lot of things that you can use a power washer for. Really doesn't cost any money. Creates a big difference.
I think something that helps homes sell for a higher value is honestly the pictures too.
Yeah.
If you have a crappy photographer and people are online browsing through that, they're just going to scroll right to the next one.
Yeah.
And it's going to give them a terrible opinion about the home. How we have the feature you can favorite, mark them as possibilities, discard them. That one's going in the discard pile.
That's going in the discard pile. As a matter of fact, 2 things. So one, Bohumik and Jenke, right? They just bought a house a couple weeks ago, and they bought the house with the shitty photos. They were like, oh, I want to see it. And we went, and they just loved it. The photos were abominable. And I thought to myself, man, one offer wasn't even that competitive. And the sellers accepted because the photos were abominable. How many people were just discarding that house before it even started?
Probably 99% of them.
Yeah, probably 99 out of 100. Something else about photos. I was talking with our photographer one day and I said, dude, do you ever look at your photos and just go, what the hell? Like, what the hell was I thinking? Why didn't I look at that? Why didn't I do this? Why didn't I, position the camera in this way? And he goes, yeah, I do it all the fucking time. And I was like, dude, sometimes when you send me photos, I go, what the fuck was our photographer thinking?
Yeah.
And the cool thing about having a great relationship with your photographer, instead of having like a 1-800 photography company, we've got a guy. He's like our guy. I'm texting him sitting with the seller, hey, can you do photos on Wednesday? Like he's our person that we're talking to. So when we do have that one photo, that one like living room picture that looks kind of weird, like, dude, why didn't you focus on the fireplace? It's bonkers. He goes back and he gets that one great picture. Because honestly, that might be the reason that somebody says to their boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, whatever their situation is, hey, I do want to look at this house. And to me, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
So we also talked about planning your next home, right? Like planning your next move before you sell this one. And I don't know, I think that's a big deal. I think people in the market, they don't think about what they're doing. And then they rush to go do one without doing the other. And they end up, it's not that they're selling their home for more money with this tip, but they're netting more profit because they're saving expenses, whether it's storage expenses, moving, or even just the hassle of like, driving to the parents' house 7 times while they're managing their transition. I don't know. You could plan your move and you don't have to feel the stress.
Yeah, I was going to say it's going to be the no stress involved if you plan it all out early on, that way you're not rushed. You have to come up with these other plans.
Right.
Again, driving all around just to make these little accommodations when you could have put it all together, sold your house and bought at the same time.
Yeah.
And it would have just gone much smoother. People always I feel like in that situation, they're worried about not being able to sell high or not having the right amount of money. Right. And people are like, yeah, I'm going to push it off. I'm going to save a little bit more, blah, blah, blah. When in reality, they can still dive into the market.
Yeah. I working with a great client right now, Justin and Lauren, if you're watching, shout out to you guys. Learned a lot from working with them. Honestly, it's just the craziest thing. I've been friends with Justin for years, but in this process, in this market, at this time, he found the house that he wanted to buy before he even knew that he wanted to sell. And so then we were able to reverse construct it. And what's the market doing today? Well, there's crazy things, and they were actually able to get under contract at what I think is a pretty good deal for 5,000 square foot home on 5 acres in Cockeysville. Pretty good deal. Mm-hmm. And now we're able to still execute and maximize the sale of their home because they're able to save 10 or 20,000 on the purchase, and the value of their home isn't that dramatically different than what it was 4 months ago.
All right.
What if they had sold their home 4 months ago and didn't have a place to go and all of a sudden overspent? So yeah, they sold for $30,000 over list price, and that's great, but then they bought for $70,000 over list price. Today, in today's market, you have the opportunity to figure out where you're going, make a really negotiable offer, and then come back home and maximize your profit.
It's nice because the past 6 months, year, maybe a couple of years, you weren't able to do that.
Yeah.
Or if it was, it would be a little bit more difficult.
Well, and I think it was just a different perspective, right? Where are you going to go when you sell this home? And people would say, well, I haven't found a home that I like yet. We can't make an offer until we sell this home. Well, did you know about the bridge loan program? I mean, shout out to all of our great lenders. First Home is one of them that has a bridge loan that can manage that for a buyer seller where they didn't know. But because they didn't make the plan, they overspent.
Yeah.
Right? All right. Number 3, let's talk about pricing your home.
Everyone's favorite.
I think it's everybody's favorite. I literally saw this thing that said, oh, my home is worth $900,000, and the agent says, well, the comps here show that it's worth $820. And the meme says, well, they don't have flower pots in the front of their house. It's the dumbest shit. And I literally thought to myself, man, my next door neighbor doesn't have my yard. And when you drive out of their house, they have to look at Nancy's house. By the way, Nancy, I love you. Hope you're not watching this. But like shitty house by comparison to like Jack's house, which is a bajillion-dollar mansion.
Yeah.
Well, Jack's across the street from me, and that makes my house worth more. Do I think that? Yes. But does the market appreciate that? No.
And this is like something we will come across.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. Oh, my house is off the road. Yeah, you have to drive through a windy wilderness that you have to fucking plow
3
in the middle
miles
of the
back.
winter. Right, like, it's not really a value. I mean, I understand that you think that it's a value, but it's not a market value.
Depends. Do they have a snowblower?
I'm not
Does it
trying
come
to
with
snow
the
blow.
house?
No, unless you're going to snow blow. Never mind. Anyway, moving on. So strategically pricing your home, where we're getting into a position now that agents have to take the time to really figure it out.
Yeah.
We're not talking about a guess. I mean, 2 years ago, agent lists a home for $249. It sells for $265. And I am making the argument that I could have sold it for $285. But that's hard to prove. Agent lists a home for $725, sells for $800. And I am making the argument that I might be able to sold it for $850. And that's hard to prove. But today, if somebody listed a home for $249 that should have been $230, you're going to feel it.
Yeah.
You're going to feel it. And the question is, can I sell it for $235?
Yeah.
And that's where we're getting. That's where we're positioning ourselves.
I was going to say, it's always best to price a little bit lower and have the market drive it up to where you really think it'll sell. And then maybe it goes higher than that value rather than price it high. And as you were talking on the show, it's just going to keep decreasing. And then maybe you fire that agent, find another one, and then it's still going to be tough to sell that home.
Right.
You know?
We're fighting for a deal right now. Shout out to Allison working on this deal for an old high school friend's friend who's going through a family situation and they got to sell. And we're fighting for this deal. And I'm telling them, hey, this is what it's worth. And they're like, well, this other guy says he's going to sell it for 10 grand more. And I'm like, please don't trust that guy. Like, I can list it for that price if you want to list it for that price. But let me show you why I think this is what it's worth. Right? And the idea of pricing low and selling high, that's great. But the reality is that we should be figuring out what the house is worth. So that if it doesn't sell, fuck, we tried. Right? Are we allowed to curse on here, Liv? I don't know.
She did it last
week. I caught myself. I was like, fuck.
You did it before.
I mean, I'm just, PG over here, baby shark.
When we were making the podcast on Anchor FM, we clicked explicit just in case. So we wouldn't get like flagged or anything.
Just in case. 5-year-olds don't listen to this. Awesome. But I think the key is to figure out the actual value. And if we do have to have a pricing adjustment, it's strategic. We're not reducing the price. We're adjusting it to figure out the place in the market. I think that people that overprice their home need to be prepared for a bigger pricing adjustment. Speaking of which, did we change the price on East Avenue? I think we did, right? Yeah, bet. We have an offer in our email.
Drops mic.
Liv's like, no. And I think that we can get into a position where we're incentivizing multiple offers, but I think the key here is strategically pricing your home is what's going to help it sell. If it's the beautiful home where you've staged it, you've positioned it, you've created the opportunity for the buyers in the market to feel it, I mean, it's going to sell. And that's where you're going to get multiple offers. But if you overprice it, you're not going to.
I feel like this is leading right into the bidding war.
Truth. Truth. So in a seller's market, bidding wars are common.
Extremely.
How do you get a bidding war in a balanced market?
Go back to pricing strategy.
Right.
Literally the page you just threw on the ground.
Right. Go back to step one.
Literally.
See step one, right?
Find an agent you trust. Go over that pricing strategy.
Right. And in the end of the day, the only way a bidding war happens is when the buyers in the market are compelled to buy your home. Whether it's through scarcity, whether it's through the right price, whether it's through the right value, buyers in the market are compelled to buy your home. If you want to put in a pool, you better put in a waterfall, right? Like every house with a pool is great.
What about a high dive?
I'd be impressed. I don't know that I've ever seen that in a residential house. Actually.
I've seen one. There's one on the way through Edgewater to Annapolis on like the side of the main road.
It's a high dive?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. They have like a small, medium, and then a high. So it's got to be like
crazy.
Like a 2'4", maybe 6, and then like an 8.
Baby bear, mommy bear, daddy bear?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Remember, I'll tell you a joke about moles. It has to do with the baby mole.
Okay.
Daddy mole, mommy mole. But we're not going to talk about that. All right, but so the note that we put on here, and I think this is important, right? Because we don't talk a lot about like what we write down, but this is really key. It says make the most of a bidding war. It doesn't say have a bidding war. It doesn't say take the best deal. It says make the most of it. And I think that's where we're really talking about the right agent again. And for you savvy sellers out there, you should understand what the difference is between every offer. So you want to accept the best offer. The best one for you. The best one that fits your needs, your time, your space, your money. The best one for you. Doesn't mean the highest price. Just the best one for you. You want to let everybody know that there's competition and maybe inform them of like what is important to you. What if what's important to you is selling in 30 days? What if it's important to you is selling your home and then having a rent back situation where you can stay in the home until your kids get out of school?
Let me butt in real quick. So you know how we call agents sometimes and they're like, or I'm like, how many offers do you guys have? I have a client interested in this property. A lot of them, they'll just tell you like, hey, we don't have any, or we might have one. What if they just said, hey, we have a couple in hand, like we've gotten a lot of attention over it. Immediately in my mind, I'm like, oh crap, like maybe we're up against something.
What if they lied?
Well, exactly. Yeah.
But to me, I think the key here as a seller is to understand that, hey, you can position yourself where nobody needs to ask that question. And as a seller's agent, quite frankly, I sometimes will tell them, hey, I've had this conversation 4 times today. I don't have anything in hand, but a lot of people are interested. Let me know what you have.
Yeah.
And if they're good, they'll say, hey, what's important to the seller? Because I think that's the difference, is if we have multiple offers and one is for 400 and one is for 385, both of those offers are competitive. And I know you guys hear 15 grand of pricing difference, but they're competitive. What if the one for 385 had no contingencies whatsoever and the one for 400 had a home sale contingency? It's a lot of risk.
I was going to say, that's what we mentioned on the last podcast. You know, being a listing agent or seller's agent, I feel like a lot of it is just understanding the risk that comes with each offer and then expressing that to the seller.
All of our notes for the next like 3 pages go into all these different multiple offers. It's kind of crazy. Actually, we talk a little bit as a team to kind of prepare for these and kind of what people want to know, what people want to hear. And there's a lot of conversation about multiple offers. And I think it's summarized in contingencies, price, timeline, rent back, expectations. But something that a lot of people don't understand is if you go back to accepting the best offer, creating an opportunity for yourself, what if you counteroffered? We don't do that.
Yeah.
But like we should, right? We should counteroffer. Even in a multiple offer situation, we should go back to the people and say, hey, this is what the seller's looking for. Is this something you would be willing to provide? Whether we go back to one or we go back to every single one and we say that. But we should be responding and just make sure that we're positioning our sellers for the best opportunity to succeed.
True.
Remember, the highest offer is not always the best, right? Again, going back to the multiple offer situation, the highest offer is not always the best. We can get into things like contingencies. We could talk about down payment. We could talk about home inspection, buyer closing cost concessions, flexible move-in date. All these things are just like talking about the different offers that are available in the market.
We could talk about lenders.
Talk about lenders. That wasn't even on here. Why did we not talk about the lenders? Ryan, you need to make a better presence in our fucking market here. All right. So I think this is the big one. This is the big one that people don't understand.
Number 7.
Number 6.
Oh, you just threw it. Okay.
I just wrote down anticipate issues. And you mentioned Courtney. It is Courtney. That's the one I was talking about. Anticipating the issues. So you have an offer from a client, and in this particular case, I'm going to tell you guys about it. Buyer comes in and says, hey, I want you to paint the whole house. Seller says, I'm not painting the house. And I say, Mrs. Seller, let's just think about this. Wouldn't you paint the house for $20,000 more? Well, yeah, for $20,000 more. Well, how about $23,000? Yeah, I mean, I would do that. Okay, cool. So that's the sales price, $23,000 more. We'll paint the house. Oh, okay, cool. Sure. No problem. But we talked about this and we said, hey, in the event of a problem, in the event of a contingency, an appraisal, any other shortage, we're not going to do these repairs until after those contingencies are satisfied. And I think the key here is to understand that that's an issue that we can anticipate. We can see that coming from a mile away, and so many agents neglect it.
Yeah.
They don't take advantage of it. It's right in front of them.
I never thought about that. Like after all the contingencies are done with, then you start working on everything else.
Yeah. Or what about, hey, we scheduled with our movers. Our movers want a $1,000 deposit. Are we confirmed for the 18th moving date? Well, yeah, we just went under contract. The 18th is the moving date. But what if we waited? How long do we have before we put down that deposit? What if we put down $100 today and $900 tomorrow? What if we put down $1,000 and then our date had to change? Would we still be able to flex the date with no charge? You know, we can anticipate issues and we can create ways to save our sellers money, because that's ultimately everything that we're talking about today is netting more money. Selling high is about netting more money, not just selling the price, right? We want to make sure that we prevent problems, and that's what we're talking about, anticipating issues so we can prevent the problem. Number 7, no surprise to anybody, hire a real estate agent that understands the demands of a seller's market.
I feel like we've stressed this so much.
I mean, if you're not talking about hiring the right person, what are you talking about?
Right.
You know?
Having multiple conversations is the way to go.
I think
like whether it's lending or a real estate agent or whoever, you know, you're going to trust one opinion. Let's say you have an issue, you go to the doctor, you're just going to trust that one doctor. Maybe you go talk to somebody else.
Go back to that original one where somebody says, hey, I want to sell my home for $249. And I say, I think I can sell it for $235, but market value is $230. Well, that person's going to drop the price, and they're going to get to $230. Before you know it, it's going to sell for $225. Yeah. Could I have sold it for $235? Because you have multiple conversations. You don't just run to the first person. So hiring somebody that's the right realtor, that understands the demands of a market, understands ways to negotiate for you. I mean, that's obviously the key. It has to be the key. And, you know, kudos to you guys. Like while I was out of town, how many people did you help without question, without ask? And people gave me feedback. Mr. Price said, oh, Christian was great. You know, I'd love to show houses with him again. Thank you. Yeah. Right? Like, without the right team, you don't have that opportunity to understand the market, understand the needs of a buyer, understand the needs of a seller, and really work to benefit all parties. Dun, dun, dun. I think as you guys are considering, you have to be thinking about this. It has to be top of mind. It has to be focal point of your conversation every single day. What are we going to do to maximize our profit? Because there's literally one thing that a seller should care about in the process of selling their home, and it's how much they walk away with. That's it. It shouldn't be the commission. It shouldn't be the sales price. It shouldn't be the buyer. It definitely shouldn't be anything having to do with fair housing. It should just be how much they walk away with. And the buyer, similarly, hey, how much are we paying? What's our cash investment into this home? What does that look like? What's our monthly payment? That's what they should focus on. I'm not saying you shouldn't worry about other things that are important, but don't get caught up in the little stuff. Whether you pay $385 or $387, that's not a big deal. In the end of the day, when you're getting closing costs paid for by the seller, you're getting that home that's 2 blocks away from your kid's school, you're getting that house with a garage that I so desperately want. I'm gonna look back on this like 5 years and be like, haha, got it, right? $2,000 doesn't mean anything. You want to keep your focal point where it belongs. And as a seller, you want to keep your focal point into your net profit. And that includes everything.
Yeah. And before we, I guess, bounce, $2,000 change in purchase price really has a very minimal effect on your monthly mortgage payment.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh my God, but it's $2,000, blah, 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 blah. Like, yeah, it's nothing.
Yeah. Where it does come to play is it comes to play in the future. But if you really want this home, if you really find that value being, you know, right down the street from the park or right around the corner from your job, or, you know, hey, let's just say that you're looking to be within walking distance of your kid's school, what do you think that next buyer is going to think when they come to buy it for $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 more than what you paid for it? Well, they're going to be thinking the same thing, yep. Right? And just consider that as you guys are fighting for your opportunity. As a buyer, it's not a huge deal. As a seller, that's $2,000 in your pocket. And the question becomes, how focused are you going to get on that $2,000? Because there's so many variables that are going to change between now and when you sell your home. we're going to be able to net that profit fivefold if you buy the right house.
Boom.
Silence is golden, Christian. Anyway, so always check with your real estate agent. If you guys haven't already, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Frank Oliver Co. You can reach me at Michael Frank ____. And Christian?
Christian the Deadhead on Instagram and the Deadhead Realtor on TikTok.
There it is. There it is. Anyway, we'll talk to you guys real soon. We appreciate you always, and we'll talk to you then.